Hey all, I've been experimenting with the colour grading options in Evoto AI, Capture One Match Look and Chat GPT. The goal being to replicate a look of a photo from like another photographer or similar. When I say replicate, I kind of mean copy it but put your own spin on it, not an exact replica. But I've wanted to find which software copies the look the best out the gate, and then from there you can sort of go on and do your own spin. So in front of me at the moment I have Evoto AI, which has a new colour matching feature. I'm just putting it through its paces, so I'll run through how this works, how well it works, and then I'll move on to Capture One, and then finally I'll move on to Chat GPT and what it can tell you in text, and then I'll tell you what I prefer. So if we just go to this image of the dress in Evoto AI, I'll just show you the original shots actually to begin with. So if we go to this folder here, dress test, I've basically got this photo ungraded. It's been retouched, but it hasn't had the colour grading applied yet. And then I've got my colour graded one here, which has a sort of reddy purple hue to it. So there they are side by side. So I want to put the left one into Evoto AI and then select the right one as the colour match option to see if AI can replicate picture 2 to picture 1. So let's do that. Go back to Evoto AI. So here's the original ungraded. And then in Evoto we got this new feature here, AI colour adjustments. And if we select here, you can go upload for colour matching. So I'm going to select the graded image, which has the red hue, and right out of gate there you can see it's pretty much spot on. It's taken the original and applied the colour grading to the new one. Going back to the original graded image here, you can see it's not actually just loaded that image, it's just applied the colour grading, but very closely. Because here you can actually turn the grade down, so there's the original, and then you can introduce the grade that it's applied through AI, and it's very, very close. The original might have a very slight more pop on the skin, but yeah, it's 95% replicated the colour of the graded one onto the original. The only thing about Evoto AI is it doesn't tell you what it's changed. Like all the sliders here, exposure, contrast, curves, they don't change, which is a little annoying because I like to reverse engineer. But you can still go to specific area and select like the person, the background, or a custom mask, and then apply your own edits, which is cool if you want to stay in Evoto AI to do everything. But I find it a little frustrating because really I want to see what's made that picture change, like what have they done to the curves or the shadows, so that I can create a preset in Lightroom or similar. But yeah, so that's how well Capture One colour matching does on that particular photo. So here's the before again, and here's the after. Now let's try it in Capture One. So Capture One here, and again we've got the original ungraded photo, and then we've got the graded photo here. Now I'll just select the ungraded, and then I'll drag the graded one to its match look option, which does a colour match, but it does it more locally, like you don't have to be on the internet, so the algorithm is within the software, it's not going off to a server as far as I know. So I've dropped that on there, and then if we do the match look and we want to normalise, light and contrast, colour adjust, colour tone, leave all those ticked, and then click apply, it does do a job. But if you look there, the model is really dark and it's not maintained any highlights or colour information on the model. So if we compare that to the original graded one, it's quite a difference. It's done a fairly good job on the sky and the castle, but it's completely ruined the look of the model. Now, this is frustrating because the nice thing about Capture One is it will actually tell you what it's done. So if you go down here, you can see what it's done to the exposure, the highlights, the shadows. It's made some minor tweaks on the curves. If you go through the colour editor here, you can see it's increased the saturation on the reds, on the oranges, changed the hue slightly on the yellows, greens it's put up a little bit, and the colour balance here as well. See in the shadow it's pulled it down towards the purples, mid-tones, put it up to the orangey slightly, and highlights it's gone in the greens a little bit. So that's interesting in the way it's interpreted that, because if I go back to the original Lightroom image, which is where I'd done the edits, I actually did it a different way. So here's the original here in Lightroom. And what I actually did, bar the usual contrast, highlights and whites, is I'd done the colour grading in curves. So I lifted the red channel ever so slightly, and the blues here. And then in the reds, I boosted the saturation and luminance. Oranges, I pulled down the saturation, which was just to desaturate the skin a little bit because I didn't want it looking too red. The yellows I pulled right back in saturation. Same for the greens. And the sort of aqua I really desaturated. The blues I pulled back quite a lot as well. And the purples and pinks I left the same. So Capture One has applied a similar look bar the model, but done it a completely different way. So although it reverse engineers, it does not necessarily reverse engineer it in the way that it was originally done. It uses different settings. I'm surprised it hasn't desaturated the greens and yellows actually, but I guess by doing some adjustments to the midtones and highlights, it's sort of got it there or thereabouts. So so far there's no holy grail to completely replicate. It just gives a ballpark. Well, I suppose Evoto does 95% replicate the grading, but then you're forever tied to paying their cost per credit, which is like, it's not much, it's like 7p a photo. But my goal really is to reverse engineer how it's done and then save it as a preset either in Capture One or Lightroom. So right, last but not least, I think this is going to be my favoured way of doing it, even if it's a bit more longer winded, because you're building the edit from scratch with a few pointers. So if we open the web browser and attach a screenshot of the graded image, and then say to Chat GPT, what has been done to the attached image to achieve its color graded look? Question mark. See what it says. Just having a little read. Contrast has been boosted. Highlights. Dodge and burn on the woman. A vignette. That's correct. I did apply vignette to the subject. Saturation and vibrance. The dress's color saturation is selectively increased. Kinda. The sky's colour seems desaturated and stylized with a possible gradient or colour overlay. I did put a linear gradient on that, so that's pretty accurate. The subject's skin appears polished. Okay, let's get more onto the colours. Clarity has been enhanced in the castle to bring up texture maybe a tiny bit. That's pretty basic actually. I was expecting a bit more. Let's see what has been done to the curves to achieve its look. red channel curve, boosted midtones in red slightly. I mean, I actually done it more in the shadows in the midtones, but it did lift the midtones a little bit. Reduced reds in shadows, that's not actually true. It's probably because I lifted the red and the blue channel that it's having a hard time working it out. So I mean, you can change the terminology on Chat GPT, like give me a detailed analysis of how the colour grading was achieved, and you can play about with it quite a lot. But my conclusion really is, apart from Evoto AI's very accurate match, there is no software at the moment that will give you the exact way, or close to the exact way, the image was created. It does its own spin on it. So out of the three methods, Evoto AI is the most accurate, but Capture One gives you the most info because it actually shows you what's done to the sliders. So conclusion being that they all need a bit of work. But I guess if you're quite new to photo editing, then it's not a bad starting point. But for me, I think I'll just analyse each photo a few different ways and then create it from scratch. I'm going to create a brown look preset soon, but I don't want to use it on everything because I find quite a lot of people just put brown look on everything these days, and or if you watch a movie, everything's teal and orange. But anyhow, hope you found that a little bit interesting. That's all for this video, so please hit subscribe if you'd like to see some more of my content, or if you'd like to see some of my photographic work, please go to Chris Cork Photography on Instagram. Many thanks, and I'll catch you soon.